Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast, episode 137.
Welcome to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast with your host, Jack Mountain Bushcraft School founder and Master Main Guide, Tim Smith.
I'm your host, Tim Smith. I'm a registered Master Main Guide and have been a full-time outdoor instructor and guide since founding the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School in 1999. You can check out the show notes to all of our podcasts at blog.jackmtn.com. Hello and welcome back to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. We're at episode number 137. We had planned on making a few more of these this semester, but time just kind of gets away from you. So we've been doing our part with the media stuff, released a whole bunch of videos and vlogs, or vlogs. I'm not sure how you say that. Vlogs. But the podcasts, we kind of have to sit down and it can't be too windy so that you could hear us. And you blink your eyes around here and all of a sudden 9 weeks have gone by and you got very little to show for it except now a whole bunch of bug bites and sore muscles and things. So joined today at the communications layer of our semi-subterranean underground Northern Maine headquarters with Oz, who's been here for 9 weeks. How's it going today, Oz?
It's going well. It's good to be here.
And we just had a pretty fun, we're wrapping up semester number 68. We've got one dinner scheduled left with the folks on the course, and then we're going to wrap that one up and put it away.
And then starts the summer of 69.
The summer of 69. For those of you who don't know, Brian Adams and I have hated each other for years. He snuck into camp one night. We made a whole bunch of custom ropes for the canoe trailer. He sneaks into camp one night, cuts them all in half for 3 pieces, and the very next day, this was back in the 80s, he releases his album, Cuts Like a Knife, and the single of the same name. And I was like, Brian Adams, you suck so bad. I can't believe you. And he just, rubbing my nose in it. So Brian Adams, if I see you again, it's on.
We're back, folks.
So it was a hard spring for these guys weather-wise. The spring semester typically starts early April, first, maybe second week of April. Yeah. I think this year we kicked off April 5th, and it's literally still winter here then. I think the first night it was 2 degrees Fahrenheit, and, people are coming up from down south thinking it's April, it's springtime. They got their flip-flops and their tank tops ready to roll, and they come back here and it's it was below zero a few nights.
More than a few. I left Ohio to come here. It was in the 60s, high 50s, 60s. When I got here, I think I drove through about 2.5 feet of snow to get down to camp. So it was definitely a huge obstacle when we first started.
And it's good and it's bad. I think that what people walk away from in a spring semester where it's hard, it's physically hard to stay warm, I think they own some of the skills to a much greater degree than if it's sort of Goldilocks weather the whole time. If you show up and it's 65 or something and the nights go down to 50, you're never really pushed to stay warm, get warm. A lot of those things are sort of almost word salad. You say, oh, don't get wet or change your socks or something. But if it never bites you, maybe those lessons are not learned to the same degree as when okay, if I let my feet freeze, if I let my boot liners freeze overnight, I'm going to have a really bad day tomorrow. So I think that the challenge is, to coin a phrase, challenging, but I think the result of that challenge is that oftentimes it results in people learning the lessons to a greater degree.
Yeah, I can't think of a semester that would have to do more axe work, right? In the summertime, obviously you need to cook and you need to do all those things, but it's much easier to just cook over the rocket stove, do something like that. But in the spring, you're literally burning wood some days just to stay warm, right? Because most of the students don't come with a tent that has a stove, so the only heat they're getting during the day is coming from that fire. So in the spring semester, each student will probably cut down 2-3 trees a day, right? So that starts to add up. Those reps start to add up, and that axe work really starts to progress. And, your woodsman work just starts to progress as you're just getting in all those reps.
In addition to the cold, the other thing that was a challenge this course, and cold was part of it, was lots and lots of super high water. And that water is like 1 degree above freezing, so it definitely delays us getting in canoes and getting out on the land, much more so than, say, when the weather isn't so cold. So we had an abbreviated sort of canoe section to this course. And, looking forward, I know you and I have discussed, do we need to do things differently in the spring? Because, realistically, if people have zero experience, we can't get into boats until maybe the second week in May.
Yeah.
If people were experienced, then as soon as the ice is out, we can jump in boats and head out on the trail. But when you're worried if somebody is going to fall in the water because it's day 1 or 2 and the water's crazy high and 1 degree above freezing, like that's, more of a safety issue.
Absolutely. I mean, there was days where even it was somewhat nice out, but the river's so high and flowing so fast and the water temperature is still so low that it's like you have this drive to get the students out there, and the students really want to get out there too, right? But it's like you have to kind of pull the leash on everyone and say, hey, yes, it is nice out. Yes, the sun is out. But like if we get out there and we start pulling today, we know that guys tend to fall in their first few days of pulling. So maybe this isn't the best use of our time right now. And then having to adjust from there. I think that also makes it tough for the instructors.
Yeah, having to kind of reschedule everything, think on your feet to a great degree of, what's the saying, like man plans, the universe laughs, I think around here, man plans and Mother Nature and the universe laugh. I
mean, we would plan our day out in the morning, and then by lunch, our day looked completely different than it did 2 hours ago, right? So it was definitely a learning process for me,
For sure. And those days where it was really nice out, it seems really nice in the woods, and then you realize, oh, there's a 40-mile-an-hour wind today. Like, we're not getting on the water then, because it's hard. We always say, guys, when they're learning, guys or girls or gender neutral, whatever, when people are learning how to canoe, we need a few solid days of real Goldilocks weather, because safety, we don't want anybody to get hypothermic. Also, if you get too frustrated in the first few days, it's hard to bounce back out of that. So we had that happen this year where, we were out, it was beautiful, but there were crazy wind gusts, and anybody in a solo boat and really everybody in general just started to get really, really frustrated and thinking that this is going to be a whole lot harder than it needs to be. So when you lack that sort of Goldilocks weather pattern, it's a hard thing to start on.
Yeah. I would like to say, though, the students that we had for this semester, for the most part, absolutely weathered it. I mean, there was days I would wake up and head down to Moose Vegas to start our day, and I would just think, man, what am I going to walk into? It was raining last night. It's freezing cold. There's no way these guys are going to be in good spirits. And I would show up to smiles. I would show up to hellos and, how was your nights, and everybody talking and everyone still having a good time. So, this class was extremely resilient, and, that's something I'm really proud of them for. So,
yeah, I think it's a good proving the old adage that adversity builds resiliency. Mm-hmm. These guys had a lot to kind of work through, and as a result, I think they bonded as a group, and they had a really good attitude the whole way through.
Yeah.
We did end up having, we had to have a student leave us a bit early this course. I get contacted pretty regularly by people asking, do I need to be like super fit to do this? Do I need to be like a Navy SEAL running down a beach with a Zodiac over my shoulders or something? And the answer is always no. But what got this guy is the trend of what gets people here, and it's repetitive stress injuries in the wrists and forearms. He was it week 4 or 5 or something. Yeah, he explained to us like, my hands are tingling. I'm waking up with my hands are numb when I wake up, and we've seen it before on a not regular basis, but it's usually the first thing that comes to mind when I think of how is somebody going to have their body not want to participate. And it's a hard thing because there's no easy fix, right? Even if even if it was simple and easy to zip into town and get like a cortisol shot or something in your wrist, I don't think it's a long-term fix. That can help maybe with some of the symptoms, but the underlying issue is still there, just the inflamed tendons and ligaments in the forearm.
Absolutely. I think too, things that the prospective student can do before they come here is just, you don't have to work out, you don't have to do anything crazy like that, but just work with your hands every day, right? Try to do something where you're strengthening that grip strength or your forearm strength, because canoeing, it's going to take forearm strength to an extent. It's going to take, hours and hours of paddling will start to wear on you. And it's not that you have to be an Olympic athlete by any means, right? But you just want to have longevity, and you want to be able to do this for a lifetime, right? These aren't things that, we're going to do for a couple seasons and then walk away from, right? So that it's a constant way of being. It's a constant way of training and thinking about your diet even, right? I think that, especially with the spring guys, I think that guys' diets were suffering a little bit. So energy levels start to dive down. People are losing weight. Maybe they weren't in the best shape to begin with when they showed up here. And it just all starts to kind of snowball on you, right? When really, just a little bit of precautionary work beforehand will really save you a lot of back end pain.
Yeah. Just to add to your point, it's not about, running marathons, being an Ironman, doing CrossFit. It's really just about having functional strength in your hands and forearms. In addition to canoeing, swinging an axe is all about the wrists. Using a knife, tying knots, all these things are very wrist intensive. And that's I would say it's the most common injury, other than, little knife cuts that guys get on their hands.
Yeah. I mean, even me paddling, if I start paddling for, usually about over 2 hours, my hands start to have issues. I start to cramp up. I think I have the beginnings of arthritis in my hands. So you'll see me oftentimes, if I'm just sitting around, I'll be twisting up cordage, right? And it's not that I want a whole bunch of cordage. It's just I'm doing it to keep my fingers and my hands and my wrists busy so that I'm always building that strength.
Yeah, all good points. But it's always bittersweet at the end of a course. You get to be really close with people you spend every day for 9 weeks with them, and then it's sort of a handshake and a see you later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at. Right now, we're going to go to the Quick Stop 2 with everybody tonight for a celebratory burger and potentially some ice cream. And then people start dispersing back to the Four Winds from whence they came. So not a huge rest period around here. Next week, we're running an advanced whitewater poling and paddling class that will do some of it right here locally on our beautiful local waterways. And then we're going to head into the Allagash, camp at Churchill Dam, and run Chase Rapids 7 or 10 times, something like that, where it's pushy. And, the water level here was super high all spring, and now it's dropping like crazy. So we never know locally what we're going to have for water levels more than a week or two out. But the Allagash, and especially right by Churchill Dam, it's dam controlled, so that's consistent water and consistent white water all season. So that's a great resource to have. And just as the crow flies, it's super close, but we got to wind around on woods roads to get out there. It takes us almost 2 hours. So we'll have fun with that ride in and out for sure. And it's nice to go at the height of black fly season too. I think that'll be nice for them.
The thing is you're still out on the Allagash, so I have to. I'm definitely jealous. It's to me that area right there by Churchill, and if you kind of canoe back onto the lake, I forget what that first campsite is there, but
High Bank and Jaws.
High Bank.
Yeah, that's
right. Absolutely love it there, right? So whoever's coming, you're in for a treat, and I envy you.
Yeah, and then we get back and then have the weekend off, and then we start the summer semester in a little more than a week. So no rest for the wicked around here. No rest for the wicked. Anything else to add about the semester?
No. Don't let it scare you. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh man, I was thinking about coming in the spring, but I think I'm going to reassess. Don't. It is. It's worth it. I think you just have to be a little more conscious about what you're packing, how you're packing, and making sure that your gear's fully tested and you know how to use it. And I think that makes things a lot easier. So if if that beginning started like we were trying to scare you, that is not at all what we're trying to do. And I think spring, if you're interested in getting the reps and really testing yourself as a woodsman, spring is the semester for you.
Yeah, well said. Let's just some other news, getting everybody kind of caught up here. Last summer, we ran a series of week-long courses, and it kind of frustrated me the way that it worked out. So I decided that what we needed to do was simplify. Because I would get emails on a regular basis, and people say, "Oh, I'm looking at your website, but I don't know where to start." And then I started looking at it with new eyes, and I realized this has gotten horribly complex over the years. So this year, we quit doing everything, and now we're just running 3 9-week Wilderness Bushcraft semesters. We've got about 6 months, maybe a little less, sometimes a little more of time here from when winter ends till when winter starts. So it's always a rush to try to squeeze everything in. Not that we don't like doing winter things, but logistically everything is so much harder when it's sub-zero and 8 feet of snow. So trying to use the time that we have where we're snow-free wisely is always a challenge. So this year we're also running like an advanced class, and we were going to run another advanced class later in the summer, but I think I'm probably going to take that one down off the website just because I don't want to burn out. But this is the first time we've ever tried to run 3 long courses in 1 year. And I remember way back in the day, we used to refer to it as the mythical third semester. And this year, like every year, is an experiment, and we'll go through, run them, and see, how we feel at the end of it. Was it a success? Was it a failure? What worked? What didn't? But that's kind of what we're up to. So it always makes sense when it's like January or December and you're sitting home without a lot to do, you're like, oh, I really want to do a lot next year. And then you schedule super aggressively, and this is often the result. Then you sit here in June at the end of a long course and you're like, was I crazy? Was I literally crazy to schedule like this? But it is what it is. One of the other things that is new this year, in the past, the journeyman was either you get it or you don't, the journeyman certification. So starting this year, we're removing that from there, because in addition to doing the 3 long courses, instead of, say, a separate week-long course, if somebody says, hey, I want to come out, but I only have a week, we say, sure, come on out. And we've renamed some of the short courses, like the Summer Woodsman became Bushcraft 1, and that's like week 1 of the semester. So the idea is that we really want people to get their journeyman cert, to push hard and to achieve all that. So by removing the time constraints from that, we're hoping that more people can get involved. So for example, say if you only get a week off a year and you're really interested in this, you could come out this year and do the first week Bushcraft 1, come out next year, do Bushcraft 2, and maybe eventually end up with your journeyman cert. So that's new this year. We've had a good response from people just wanting to come out for a couple of weeks so far. But, we'll see. As like everything else, it's just an experiment.
I think it works well with people's schedules. Maybe not everyone has 9 weeks to devote to an entire semester, but maybe you got a week, maybe you got 2 weeks, maybe you got a month, like we had a couple students last semester. So, if this is something you're interested in, look into that, right? Because I think it's really a benefit, and I think you can really walk away from a lot from these courses, even in a week or 2.
Third point, kind of new this year, is we are in talks to potentially grow the acreage of the field school significantly to nearly double it. It hasn't happened yet. I'm going to keep my cards close to my chest on this, because we don't want to jinx anything until it's a done deal. But one of the things that we've talked about doing for years was to sort of open up the field school as a bushcraft / permaculture / sustainability campground. So to open it up so people could come out and stay here and enjoy the local natural world, maybe get involved with some of the ongoing sustainability projects we have. And that's definitely something that is on the back burner, but it's something that I'm looking towards, as I slide through my mid-50s. How many more years do I want to chase people around the woods? So having something like that, run it kind of as a campground, is definitely something I want to do. Number two, along with that, is a reboot of our folk school. Back when we lived in New Hampshire and then had the field school up here, we used to call that one the folk school and this one the field school. But basically off-season or colder weather programming when it's not camping. That's not part of the equation. But say if somebody wanted to come out and do project-based learning. So for example, maybe have a big project, maybe they want to carve a canoe paddle, but at the same time, we'll do some foraging. And at the same time, we'll check our beaver traps and then eat wild meats and spend a lot of time focusing on eating really well and living really well. So the idea of sort of come on out and just see what this lifestyle is. And, it would be much smaller groups and things, but it's definitely something that we're actively working on and developing, and kind of excited for a new challenge. And I think that's exciting.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I want to touch on today is our ongoing Jack Mountain Bushcraft School Digital Archives Project. And this is something that I've been working on for about 4, maybe 5 years. And I'll give you the whole story because maybe you're interested in the whole thing. But way, way back in 1995 was the first time that I ever met Morris Kahansky. I was on my way from Alaska driving back to Maine and had just read his book Northern Bushcraft and had written him a letter, and he wrote me back saying they were having a course, ironically, right when I was driving past. So I stopped in for a week and, met the guy, learned a whole lot about what he did. And I didn't know this prior, but he had at that point been running a university course for the University of Alberta for 20 or 25 years. So I remember at some point during the course, I asked him, if you were giving a PhD in bushcraft or traditional living skills, what would the reading list be? And he kind of looked at me funny and thought about it. And he said, I'll have to get back to you on that. And I said, yeah, no problem. I mean, I don't expect you to rattle it off right off the cuff like that. Lo and behold, about 2 months later, I get a letter in the mail, and it's this 100-book or so bibliography. And he had listed out kind of by topic, and then, if you had to read one, this is it, and maybe the top 10 or whatever. And that became the early Jack Mountain bibliography, which is still on the web. Maybe I'll put a link from here on the podcast. I'll put a link to it. It's still out there. And it took me about 10 to 15 years, but eventually I chased down all the books on that list. And this was right about when the internet came about for me, and they started selling used books on the internet. And it was such a huge thing. Before that, we had a little used bookstore in our town, and then, maybe you'd find something from a list like that. But then once you were able to search online for them, you had access to just about everything. So over the years, we've added to that a lot. And what we've been doing now with the Digital Archives Project is, for those of you, if you ever met Moores, he was a huge collector of books. The guy would get so many books that he'd go have to build a new outbuilding about every 2 years to house all these books. But the downside to that is they're not portable. In order for him to move, if he ever had to move his whole library, it would have been like 6 or 8 tractor trailer loads of books. And along the way, for me, acquiring a lot of these different titles and things, and some of the super rare books that I've only ever seen one copy of, I started to think a long time ago that, hey, I should try to digitize these. So we scanned a few back in the early days of scanning. I think you'd photocopy it and then scan the photocopy, and then you'd have a digital copy, which was portable, which was great. And I spent just about my entire time in graduate school doing interlibrary loans for random outdoor books when I was supposed to be doing schoolwork. But yeah, it is what it is. But always trying to find these old rare books and scan a digital copy of them. And just one short story about that. There was one book that I could never find a hard copy of that was on, I think it was on his original list. It might have been something I got from the Bulletin of Primitive Technology, but it was by this guy named Julius Lips from 1895, and it was called Traps and Snares of the Labrador Peninsula. So this guy was an anthropologist and did field work up there, and I kept searching for it, and the only place I found that had a hard copy was in like a protected room at Dartmouth College. So I thought I was like James Bond here. I dressed up kind of preppy like took the 3-hour drive over to Dartmouth College, snuck into the library, like pretended I belonged there, and waited for some kid to open the door, ran in, kind of snuck into the back room, into the stacks, found this thing, photocopied it. And it was like, it was like I was in the Cold War and gone through like Checkpoint Charlie. I was so impressed with myself. And of course, it's the case. It turns out it wasn't a book. It was like a 20-page pamphlet. So it wasn't, it was that specific volume was pretty anticlimactic. But about 10 years or so ago now, we started scanning all of these rare books that I've only ever seen one copy of, and we're assembling them into the Jack Mountain Digital Archive. And that's why, that's where the whole idea started. And the idea is that, having been, Moores was a great influence on me, but my goal is now that I can give away this massive library to somebody who's interested. So it took me 10 to 15 years to track down that initial 100 books. And now if, say, a young person comes here, I can cut out that middleman and they can walk away with it right away. So they have a PDF of thousands of now topic appropriate books. And that's a huge benefit to me.
I think it's a benefit. I think this is your stand of birch.
Yeah. Well, tell that story.
In the old days with the natives, they would, you would plant a stand of birch or really take care of a whole stand of birch, and you knew that you would never benefit from that stand of birch, but you knew that your grandkids or your great-grandkids would be able to make canoes out of it and make homes out of it, right? So we don't really have that in today's society anymore, where we can take care of land and then pass that on to our great-grandkids, and they have, food for, generations. But to me, this is kind of like a stand of birch, right? This is Tim's, 26 years, 27 years now of experience, his knowledge that he's accumulated, and people who he has actual relationships with. Some of these people that wrote these books, Tim has taken the time to meet them and speak with them. So I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I don't think anyone else on earth is even doing anything remotely like this. So I think it's way bigger of a deal than what we're making of it. But if you have the opportunity, take advantage.
So before I get a slew of emails saying, send me the link, I won't be posting this anywhere. But you can get a copy of the archives. I don't want to post it because I don't want to get angry letters from lawyers and this and that. Also, as Oz mentioned, I know a lot of these authors, and I don't want to put their grandkids in the poorhouse because that was their legacy to be able to continue to sell books, and I think that's great. And also, just copyright issues, that sort of a thing. So if you want a copy of the digital archives, it's easy. You just have to be a contributor, or as I like to say, a co-conspirator. So we've got a stack. We always have a stack of books around here that are super rare. A lot of them I've only seen one copy of over the years. And using these amazing new scanning apps, you download this app for your phone and you just take a picture of every page of the book, and the app knits it together into its own big PDF, like super simple. And, to do a regular size book takes an hour to 2 hours. If it's a big book, maybe 3 hours. But so if you're ever coming up this way, you're ever passing through, you're welcome to get a copy of the digital archives. You just got to be a co-conspirator. So if they ever do haul me into court, I can name all these other people who also contributed. More seriously, it's not my goal to be the gatekeeper of this by no means. My goal is to sort of set it free and let it go where it goes, but I won't be the guy that's ever going to post this just because I don't want the hassle.
The pot of gold is special because it's at the end of the rainbow. It's not everywhere. So you got to get to the end of the rainbow. Come get your pot of gold. And I think that's what makes it special. And it's definitely worth the time and the visit, to be able to accumulate all this knowledge.
So yeah, maybe when we get the campground going, for those of you who are super interested, there's an opportunity there. And I think as sort of as a side thing, we keep hearing stories, people poisoning themselves by getting AI generated books and using them to forage for mushrooms, that as time goes by, there's more AI slop out there all the time. You don't know if the person who wrote this book was a real person. So us compiling this snapshot of all the important, pertinent literature in the field right at the dawn of the sort of AI internet slop age. I think books written by real people during an era where it mattered, where the truth mattered, is going to be so much more important in a year, 2 years, a generation. I honestly see, not to try to read the tea leaves, but, I think in about 5 years, anything new that comes out, people will say, how do I know this is true? This could just be written, it's just a big fancy AI generated way to cash in on that. So the old books will matter greatly more as time goes on, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't have a whole lot else right now. Kind of our episode 137. Welcome back to podcasting. This was super fun, though. The hard part for me with podcasting is scheduling. It's always finding somebody else that you can sit down with, because this is fun. Having a conversation with like-minded people is always fun and very interesting, but to try to do it by yourself, it's like giving a speech, and it's like pulling teeth and awful. So I still plan to release podcasts of this format when the opportunity avails itself, but kind of working on a different format, and maybe the next one will explain that better, but something that maybe I could pull off by myself, which is most of the days here. So we've got that going for us, which is nice. So what's up for you for the summer?
I'm heading back. My son's got a pretty full schedule of baseball, and as much as I want to be here for this semester, I think the best thing for me is to head home for 9 weeks, and then I'll be back in the fall. So I conveniently miss all the bugs. That wasn't planned at all. But just head home to spend time with family, and then I'll be back for the fall semester. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's great. And just want to do a quick shout out here. We had the good fortune of Oz's son spent 4 or 5?
He spent 4 weeks here.
He spent 4 weeks here during the course, and he's doing is he 26, 25?
He'll be 26 in July.
So 26 years old, he's doing a career change, going from working in digital media, and he's going to follow his old man's footsteps into the Marine Corps. So we had a lot of fun with him here. Great guy, Andrew. We're all wishing the best for you, and hope you have the best of luck with it. But it was kind of fun having him out here, and I think he had a few cheap laughs anyway, if nothing else.
He did. He's already telling your jokes, so now my family's getting it from 2 angles. So.
My apologies.
No, I know he absolutely loved it here. I know it was a very special experience for him. I know it was very special for me, so thank you for having him and hosting him here for that month. And, I don't know, a lot of fathers get to spend a full 4 weeks in the woods with their sons. But I got that before he leaves for boot camp here in July. So I'm very grateful, and I wish him all the luck in the world, and I love you, son.
I think that's a pretty good place to call it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.
Take care.
You have been listening to the Jack Mountain Bushcraft Podcast. For more information on our professional wilderness guide training programs that are college accredited and GI Bill approved, visit us on the web at jackmtn.com.